So my voice is going, if you couldn't tell. I have allergies and it keeps coming back and going, so I just hope it makes it through the end of this video, and I hope you guys really don't mind it that much. Good morning, my gorgeous grapes. Today I'm going to be talking about character personality, specifically how to determine your character's personalities using the Myers-Briggs type indicator. Now, I know that most of you already have your character's personalities made and solidly screwed into your brain, but hear me out. I don't use the Myers-Briggs test to actually make my characters, but rather to understand how my characters' brains work, how they would interact with other characters, and what they would do in sticky situations. There are 4 traits in Myers-Briggs: E versus I, S versus N, T versus F, and P versus J. There are some types that claim there's a 5th trait, T versus A, or Turbulent versus Assertive, and if you want to go research that one, you can do it on your own. I will not be talking about that one today. Now, before we get to the benefits of using the Myers-Briggs test for your characters, let's go over the 4 traits. The first is extroverted versus introverted. I must say that this is the easiest of the 4 in most cases. The key to understanding this one is how your character gains energy. Extroverts are usually people that are talkative and outgoing, but not necessarily. They are simply people that gain energy from being around others. When extroverts face a problem, they typically talk this problem over with others to determine what to do. Introverts, on the other hand, are not necessarily socially awkward, but enjoy being alone. Introverts find loneliness as a way to charge their batteries, but when they're around others, they can still be talkative and outgoing. Introverts also like to think major decisions over in their own heads before they talk to others. If you're writing an extroverted main character, they might have more interactions with others and make friends quicker. If you're writing an introverted main character, they might have a lot more alone time and find it harder to establish genuine connections with others. The second trait is intuitive with an N versus sensing. I must say that this is the hardest of the 4 in most cases. There's some disagreement about how to determine this trait, but I'll start with the easiest way. The easiest method, and also the key to determining this trait, is what if versus what is. Intuitive people are often the optimists of the world because they like to think in terms of what if this could happen. Intuitive people tend to be in their own heads, a lot more imaginative, and often get distracted. Sensing people, on the other hand, are often fact-minded, very based on reality, and go with their past experience rather than their gut feeling. Sensing people are often realists and like to stick within the bounds of what is. Another way to interpret it is that N's are very superstitious and symbol-minded and like to think about the big picture and then go to the details. Sensing people in this interpretation do not like symbols or superstitions, and they tend to look at the smaller details and then the big picture. If you're writing an intuitive character, they might ask, what is the plan, or what is the goal? On the other hand, a sensing character might ask, what is the next step? We need to complete the next step. The third trait is thinking versus feeling. A thinking person typically looks at logic and facts to make a rational decision. A feeling person, on the other hand, is much more sympathetic and much more helpful. The key to determining this one is thinking about how your character reacts to misfortune. For example, when a thinking person is hurt, either physically or emotionally, their first thought is, how do I get better? A feeling person, when hurt physically or emotionally, will typically think about themselves and self-pity for a while before they are able to move on. And the last trait is judging versus perceiving. The key to judging versus perceiving is how a person plans for the future. Now, a judging person is not actually like a very judgy person, but they love organization and order and planning. Judging people are typically on time everywhere they go. They know how to manage their time, they know how to set goals and achieve them. Perceiving people, on the other hand, are hot messes. P's tend to be late for everything, they think they have more time than they actually do, and they're not great at organization or setting goals. While judging people often think ahead to what is coming, perceiving people often live in the now. For example, if you're writing a judging character, they're probably going to have a set goal and a set endpoint, and they are going to get it done with a plan. If you're writing a perceiving character, however, they are probably just going to go, let's wing it, and run at the bad guy. It is burning up in here. Yay, we did all 4. That took so much longer on film than it did for you to watch it. So when you type yourself or your character, just simply put the 4 traits in order. For example, I am an INFP, and most writers are. Now that we've gone over all the traits, let's talk about the benefits of typing your characters. Number 1, your characters will seem realistic. Ever read about a character in a story and just said to yourself, oh my gosh, that is my friend? This is most likely because your friend has similar Myers-Briggs traits to that character. Your character does not need to do real-world stuff to seem relatable to your audience. All they need to do is seem like a real person. If you figure out your character's type and then go online and read a personality profile about that type, it will be easier for you to write your character realistically. Since the 16 personalities are based on real-life people, using them to influence your characters will help your characters seem more real and help your audience better relate to them. Number 2, using the system will force you to think deeper about your characters. A long time ago, in a galaxy far, far away, I wrote a character named Nora. She was a strong and independent person who was not very sympathetic but loved talking with and arguing with others. Her actions in the book showed her personality, but her thoughts never really did, and it took me a long time to understand why her thoughts and her actions didn't line up. As it turns out, I was writing her thoughts as if they were my thoughts. After typing her and realizing that she was an ENTP while I was an INFP, the differences made sense. Extroverted people, like my character, do not think to themselves as much as introverted people like me do. Also, my character's thoughts were very sympathetic and very kind of apologetic. While those are thoughts that a feeling person like me would think, a thinking person like her would be much more based in logic. After reading a character profile for an ENTP, I was able to align her thoughts with her actions and create a much more cohesive character. Also, I knew Nora had always reminded me of somebody, and it turns out that she reminded me of my aunt, who is the same Myers-Briggs type as her. And reason number 3, you can discover brand new things about your little darlings. Whenever one of my characters comes out as a 2-dimensional cardboard cutout, I like to determine their type with the Myers-Briggs test. After doing this, I realized that there were some big decisions about my characters that I hadn't made. Were my characters introverted or extroverted, thinking or feeling? I had no idea. But after researching all the traits and looking at several character profiles, I was able to choose the best type for my character. Reason number 4. Doing the Myers-Briggs test to all your characters allows you to add diversity to your book. Now, typically diversity refers to race, sexual identity, gender, or a character's background, such as if they were poor or rich. However, your book also needs a diversity in thought. By typing all of your characters and putting them on a chart, you can see how similar and different all of your characters are. Are all of your characters perceiving people because maybe you are? Do you have 5 characters that are all ESTPs? It might be time to change some of them. Now, if 1 or 2 of your characters has the same type, it doesn't really matter. But if all of your characters think the same way, your book is going to be very boring. Now, I know there are some drawbacks to this test. For example, a lot of people feel like their character is not one extreme or the other, and they are right down the middle. First of all, I would avoid putting any of your characters right in the middle. Your character might do things that are both judging and perceiving at different times in their life or in the book, and that's okay, but try to choose one over the other. If your character has too many traits right down the center, they're going to be a pretty bland character. Now, there's an exception to this system, and that is how your character changes. Your character is supposed to change through the book. That's called a character arc. So if 1 or 2 of these traits changes throughout the book, that's okay. Changing one of these traits can also be a surprise for the audience. For example, if one of your characters is typically a very thinking person, but they end up giving up logic to save another character, it might surprise your audience. Or let's say your character is a perceiving character, but at the end of the book it turns out they've been planning something all along behind the scenes. This will be a huge surprise because that's something that a judging character would do. And just remember, this is a base for your characters and a way to help you understand them better. This is not a set in stone process. Thank you guys so much for watching. I'll see you in 2 weeks. Hey guys, so I forgot everything that I was supposed to say at the end of this video because I'm an idiot. I'm just an idiot. Subscribe down below and chime the bell if you want to be notified about my next video, which is about the Big 5 personality traits, a system that I actually like better than Myers-Briggs if I'm being honest here. Also, I've left links in the description for great Myers-Briggs sites that you can check out if you want to know more. Jeez, that was not even that much shit to remember and I messed it up. Until then, may the gods of plot be ever on your side. Welcome, my silly strawberries. don't like that. I don't like that. Today I'm going to be talking... There are 4 traits in the Myers-Briggs test. N versus P, no. E versus I, N versus S, T versus P, and J versus P. E versus I, N versus S, P, my gosh. E versus I, S versus N. People do not like superstition or a feeling character when hurt will typically start to think, why did this happen to me? Oh my gosh, I'm so injured. She was a very strong and independent person. And until then.